Hey everybody, it's Eugene Driscoll of the Valley Indie, coming to you live from my basement where I'm streaming off of YouTube tonight's meeting of the Seymour Board of Finance. Voters last week rejected the Seymour school budget and town budget. Board of Finance is convening tonight to make changes to the spending plan that was sent to voters last Thursday. Can anybody hear me, I wonder? Hold on, did the audio cut out for me? Yeah, I'm having a... Oh. Ugh. I wasn't wearing headphones. I was wearing, I was listening to a podcast right before I went on. I didn't put my own headphones in.
This one doesn't. So the other one upstairs looks just like that.
Okay, but you transferred it to Dennis.
Yeah, so it's empty. I'll go get
I
it.
could delete everything.
Don't know
You
what all
can
that
have this
noise
one.
is.
Thank you.
Oh, I see. What we're watching there is this. It's Monday. I see Sean Wellington's comment, and I'm like, wait, why don't I see that on my end? Because that's not my YouTube page I'm watching. It's the town of Seymour. If you're watching on Facebook, can you hear this right now? Oh, yeah, you can. I just saw some closed captioning.
I know. It's okay. We gotta respect each other.
So we'll write notes. So we'll write notes, so you have to say anything.
Yeah. And I mean this, like, I think we're just gonna go down
But all the industry, right?
2.5. What's up?
Yeah, I'm good. So what I'll do is we'll tell them it's gonna turn green. Are you gonna read that part?
Oh yeah.
Okay, so
Yeah, I'm gonna do a little spiel.
so you're gonna tell them that we're gonna get a green light. It's gonna be facing.
Yeah,
the
no, we're
mic.
not doing that. Just tell them when the time is. It'll just be easy. I don't wanna have to keep an eye on green thing.
All right, and we'll when they see the red, they can stop talking because I'm gonna turn it around so they can see the red.
Okay.
Does that work?
Yes, that works.
Cool. So, can you fill her in on the difference?
Yeah. Yeah. And that's her topic. She's gonna talk about that very public topic.
She's gonna talk to her beforehand.
Yeah.
She's gonna have a motion. Your mic.
sort of hiss you hear is on their end. It's not your computer or cell phone for anybody that's out there listening on Valley Indie, YouTube, Twitter, or Facebook. Somebody on the right has an old phone, huh?
My only question was,
Or is that a digital recorder? So this meeting was, I just turned on the volume for a second. It was scheduled to begin at 6 p.m. So hopefully it'll get started any minute. I didn't feel like turning on my camera because I don't feel so well today. Still a little behind on the stories. Thank you to everyone who donated during the Great Give last week. Did get up a Seymour story today about Phil Wellamy running for Board of Finance. Still trying to finish off the Ansonia budget hearing story from last week. But I told these governments, don't do stuff if you want me to write about it during the Great Give week. Last week, by the way, it was a $65.2 million budget combined, school and town. Town side of the budget lost 801 to 519. School side of the budget 847 to 473. So the purpose of this meeting is to decide what to reduce. Presumably, I don't know if you could send out a budget with more money. Asking for more, I'm not really sure, but that's the purpose here. And then they have another referendum scheduled for May 18th. I believe it was the first time a Seymour budget had been rejected in a couple of years. Or still. So they're talking about right now, even though the meeting hasn't begun. Yeah, the fiscal year for all these towns begins July 1st. And towns that don't get a budget approved, you got to go on what you're currently using for another year. So it looks like, is this going to begin?
yeah, I agree.
For anybody watching on the Valley Indie stuff, if you leave comments on Facebook, I can put them on the screen. But just keep in mind, they're not read by the people in the room. Also, I'm not 100%. I know that's Richard Demko, the man with the beard in the middle. He is the board chair, but I don't cover Seymour specifically. I edit the stories, so I'm not 100% sure who everybody is.
Yeah, Bev will be here. She said she might be a couple minutes late.
6 p.m., that's kind of a
I
work
have not
time
heard
for
from Lucy.
people.
I'm not sure if Lucy's going to make it.
I know just Valley Indie video-wise or traffic-wise, Facebook-wise. Traffic's the slowest during rush hour. From about 4:30 to 6:30, and then it picks up at 7.
Oh, well, hey.
Just to FYI, the town side of the budget that was rejected last week, that was $26.5 million. School side of the budget, $38.6 million.
Yeah.
Had those budgets passed, the mill rate would have gone up 1.59 mils. That translates to $318 more in taxes. Single family house assessed at $200,000.
Actually, I think we need Bev in order to take action on this tonight. Okay.
Last week, the Seymour school superintendent noted they had already reduced their original request by about $500,000. School officials expressed concerns about reducing that proposed allocation further.
Yeah.
One thing to keep in mind, sometimes you hear cuts, things like that, used when they're talking about these budgets. These are proposed budgets, so the money hasn't been allocated. When they say cut, they're talking about a reduction in the request,
Bev is just parking now.
in the ask.
So We will get underway.
So when
in
they're
about
saying
2
they're
minutes.
cutting the school budget, they're not talking about the budget
not
currently
know.
in place.
No. We have more.
Sometimes that gets lost. Because you ask for $10, you have $3, right? And you ask for 10, and they give you $2. It's not a cut. You still got the $2 new. Does that make sense to people? It can be confusing in covering these things.
Yeah, Bab's pulling in the parking lot.
For anybody listening, I guess there's only 2 of us. But I am seriously, I did one last week on Friday. I'm thinking about doing, I have subscriptions on the Valley Indy. If anybody wants to give, I think the minimum is $5 a month. I'm going to start doing a Valley Indy Insider, probably every Friday. It gives you a preview of the story we're working on for Monday. Some this day in history type information. And I might do short interviews of either new businesses, things like that. It would be behind a paywall. It would be exclusive subscription only content. Try to diversify the revenue there a little bit. Valley Indy has always been free. It always will be free. But
Okay.
I am monetized on Facebook, and it makes sense to do something about that. All right, I'm going to duck out and remain quiet the rest of the meeting.
6:08. I'd like to call the meeting to order. Everybody rise for the pledge. Kristen, do the honors.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay. I'd like to thank you all for coming today. As you notice, I'm sitting over here in Bill's seat tonight. Unfortunately, he's out of town, so I have to drive the bus tonight. Next item on the agenda is item number 3, which is public comment. Public comment will be 2.5 minutes. When you come up to talk on the microphone, please give your name and address for the record clearly. We are going to keep public comment civil, so I don't want to see everybody going back and forth with each other out here. Okay, we need to, we are all part of the same community, and I do not like to see people arguing amongst themselves. So please direct all your comments to the board. With that said, I will open up public comment for 2.5 minutes. Yes, state name and address, please.
John Churkowski, Amber Drive. I've been a Seymour resident for 40 years. At the town meeting, I made 2 motions to reduce the budgets for the Board of Ed in the town, which were normally those motions would have reduced the tax increase from approximately 4.5% down to approximately 3%, which in my opinion is a reasonable increase. Our first select one, their original budget presented to the Board of Finance, had tax increase just over 3%, I believe. Yet the Board of Finance and the 3-2 vote with members absent, excuse me, increased the budget beyond what the first selectman had proposed, which appeared to be due to pressure from the school committee. If the first selectwoman's budget had been adopted, in my opinion, it may have passed the referendum last week. The 3 of you on the Board of Finance, including the chairman, Bill, who's not here tonight, wanted to increase the number beyond what the first selectwoman proposed, and she believed that her numbers were sufficient to fund the town and the Board of Education. By casting those votes on a budget that was doomed to failure at the referendum, you bangered the voters. The school community represents probably 20 to 25% of the voting population of the Seymour. And now they've learned that their vocal minority, excuse me, was overridden by a very silent majority of the vote. 75 to 80% of the voters have emphatically said no. They may consist of seniors, maybe people working multiple jobs to get by, maybe people who are having some other kind of family hardship, or people who are just tired of having the town trying to extract revenue to reach the expense levels that some of you want to see in certain areas. I personally was very disturbed when I went to vote, to look across the street and see vote yes, for the education budget, on town property. On town property. I thought that was very inappropriate. Just a note of caution to the board members tonight, for those of you especially who voted for this budget to fail. It was a high tax increase. And to use a common saying, you've now awakened the sleeping bear in this town. And now, I fear, you may see a repeat of something that hasn't happened for quite a few years in Seymour, which is repeated failures of the budget. We've got to vote next week, we've got to vote on June 1st. And it may go down just due to voter anger, because the budget you put out there stirred up a hornet's nest. And I believe that if those two budgets fail, I believe, I could be wrong, that we then have to revert to this year's budget. And nobody wants to see that. That would be awful if that happened. Nobody wants to see that. But I think that through voter anger, that could happen. So I ask you to listen to the message from the voters and send your referendum next week a reasonable budget, something in the neighborhood of a 2.5% to 3% tax increase.
Time.
Time's up. 3 minutes. Over. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, next. Name and address for the record. Yeah.
Kristen Harmelin, 134 Davis Road, almost 12-year member of the Board of Ed, 2-year member of the Board of Finance previous. I don't know how we got here. Absolutely, people are angry. I was standing behind a woman online who looked at me, waiting to go in to register to vote, not register to vote. She looked up at the ballot and she said, "Which one do I vote for so my taxes don't go up?" And I said, wow, we have really missed the boat on communicating with people. And I politely said to her, well, both of them are higher than last year, so both of them would cause your taxes to go up. And she said, well, does that mean I vote for the one on top because that one's lower? And I said, well, no, here in Seymour we vote separately for the town government and for the Board of Ed. And she said, well, I've never done this before. My friend told me to come. I better call her. And she left. This is how people are getting out their anger for cost of living, for inflation. And I beg of you to stand strong. Because to hear someone say that 25% approximately of Seymour children, parents do not pay for children's education. Townspeople pay for children's education. It's a public good. That's why it's called public education. If you want to live in a community that has children in it, you need to offer them quality education. I don't know how we got here with the administrator bashing and the salary bashing. Our ask is not an unreasonable ask. It is a set of foundation to actually do something good and right and continue to build on the momentum that we've had since we brought in a new superintendent and many new people into our administration. So I beg of you to stand strong because yes, people are angry, but people don't get to decimate our school system. There is some measure of increase that needs to happen on an annual basis in order to keep services level. And that's all we're trying to do here is keep services level.
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, next.
Dr. Susan Compton, 122 Walnut Street. I want to commend you for the vote in supporting the school district and for the town budget. I am here to tell you, and I'd like to just emphasize again, our children are our most precious priorities. Tonight, do not gut this budget. I am telling you, we do not need a school system that is being devastated by cuts. We've already cut a fine arts teacher, and by additional $400,000, we are going to be cutting staff. The future of our school district is in your hands. Do you want the legacy to be on all of us, that we are taking the school system down to a lower level? I don't think so. You see, I care about these kids.
Excuse me.
Parents care.
Could you please
It
address
should not-
us?
Yes, thank you. And it
Thank
should
you.
not be just 800 and some votes. Yes, 847 votes voted no to the school budget and 473 voted for the budget. Don't let these small numbers determine our future. May 18th is going to be an important voting day. But we need to protect our children. You've had a quality education in Seymour. You've produced outstanding athletics, state championships. And you just look at, if we keep cutting, it's going to affect academics more. You have also produced outstanding scholars that have made an international difference. Think about all the great kids that have graduated from here. Think about athletics. Then there's going to start being future cuts in athletics. When you look at the percentages that we came in, we cut $517,000 when we came to you. We did our best. Now when you look at the percentage, say for example, you cut $434,000, where does that leave us? I don't know, around 2.68%. I think that's what Mr. Bucci told me. You know, just our contractual agreements were 2.1%, not counting special ed increase. You tell me one other Valley school district that's going to have to lay people off. I don't know of one. Seymour needs to be a leader. We need to educate our children for the future, not the past. I beg you, do not devastate the schools.
Thank you. Thank you.
Next. Yes.
Trish Tanka, 203 Pearl Street. I'm just here to talk about the town budget. Because one of the things you heard me say at the last meeting was discussing our bond rating and decisions that we don't want to be making that affect our bond rating. While some people think high enough it could take a second hit, I disagree. The bond rating has a direct effect on what our rates will be when we have to go out to bonding. If we take another hit, that means those rates increase. We have very aged buildings that we've been trying to address, have a strategic plan to address the last many years. By cutting any figures that are going to affect the bond rating in this budget, it is going to have an effect on that, our lending power, by increasing the rates. I don't see a page number in here, but in the budget, under highway wages and maintenance, I did ask for a copy of our agreement with the town, because I did hear last week that in order to keep the low rates that we have for our snow plowing materials, there is a minimum amount that we must purchase. I have the document here. The minimum amount is 2,500 tons, of which in this contract it states we must purchase at least 40% of this, which is 1,000. It's about $100 a ton. So you have to fund this by $100,000 minimum. If you do not, it is misleading the public as far as the budget goes, because what happens is this company will build the town for that amount based on our contract. However, we will not get the salt to treat the highway. So, and again, when the rating agencies come in and they take a look at the budget, it does in that area look very short-sighted. Mind you, I'm very aware that the budget failed. I've sat in your seat for many, many years and chaired this board, the Board of Finance, for many, many years. You do have to make a cut. This is one area that you can't cut, so I'm strongly recommending that you take a look at the first selectwoman's budget for the town and ask that you adopt that instead, because it takes these kinds of scenarios into account and further cuts the town budget to give the Board of Finance and the town more of what they're looking for based on the vote of no this past week. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay. Next.
Good afternoon. I have a little mic because I'm good at this. Amber Jaconis, well, in Middle Benham Road, first selectwoman for the town of Seymour. I wrote a speech, but because my allergies, I'm starting to lose my voice, so bear with me. Good evening. We are meeting on this beautiful evening like this. We all could be out enjoying the outside. But as this board knows, I prepared and presented a budget back in March to this board. This board did not accept my proposed budget, and my proposed budget had very little increase, with no effect to our residents. Instead, this board went and put a budget together that raised taxes. So I'm here again tonight. Why?
Well, I can tell you it's not because I want to spend more time with you. Last Thursday until 10 o'clock at night was enough time for me. As we know, the budget that was proposed by you guys had a mill rate of 37, and it failed. Thursday night, the goal was to cut the mill rate at least by 0.5 mil. With this discussion, they were spoken about the referendum by the Board of Finance. The town was to cut an additional $216,000, and the Board of Ed cut of $434,000, for a total of $650,000, which would bring the mill rate to 36.61, which is not quite a half a mil. The goal is 36.5, or no increase at all. Based on how the town and the Board of Ed vote went on Thursday, the town did not pass by 35%, and the Board of Ed failed by 44%, 11% difference. What I wanted done since the beginning of the budget season was to keep the mill rate down as low as possible. I wanted it down to 36.5. So in addition to your cuts, I made an additional $115,733 to the town side, which includes salaries and vehicles. But I could not just look at the town side, I had to look at the Board of Ed side. It's a big chunk, that's a big chunk of our budget. I will not get into what I've asked for the Board of Ed side, because what I asked for will not get done. We're affecting the teachers, we're affecting the students, right? I already gave you what I thought. We've all given you our opinion on what we thought. But what I originally had thought was cutting the Board of Ed was an additional $200,000. And that covered the increased contracts and special needs. These cuts, my suggested cuts would have brought the budget cuts made $965,732, which would have been a mill rate of 36.36, which is below a 0.5 mil increase. I know it sounds like a lot to cut from the Board of Ed, and the town was not cut that much. But what people have to understand, the Board of Ed is $10 million more than our budget, right? As a leader of this town, I not only have to look out for our students, I have to look out for our residents, both young and the old. So if you will, as I stated, I would go line item by line item of what I intend to cut. So on your budget, under the Selectmen's office, line 101.
What page are you on?
I don't have pages. Page 10. Page 10. Selectmen's office.
This is the revenues.
This board knows I need full transparency. Ready? First line, 85,327. Mark down to 85,327.
Okay, hang on for a second. Doug, are you going to calculate this as we go along?
You want all these numbers put in there, or you want to vote on them? How do you want to do it?
Just let me present my budget, and then you guys can talk. Got it? Travel,
Okay, so what line first?
101.
Okay.
85,327. 580, 1,500. That's travel.
So you're eliminating 18 from travel.
Yep.
Okay.
You guys have town operations buildings. Account number 510. Line 430. Just want to make sure that people online can hear this too. We went from 90,000 to 75,000, and that is return maintenance to the building. I want you to understand that on that Thursday vote, we had a fire in one of our oldest buildings, the old high school. We can't cut from our buildings and maintain our buildings. We're just putting Band-Aids on it. So maybe you need to look elsewhere. I ask that you also look at the town contributions as well. If we're cutting salaries and we're cutting stuff to repair our town, then maybe we should look at recreation contributions as well. Police department overtime went down to 150, down to 25,000. I cut an additional 25,000. Machinery and equipment, which is cars, $67,000, I cut an additional $67,750. Highway wages and maintenance, I'll give you a copy of my budget as well. Highway wages and maintenance. Right? Overtime for snow plowing. This year we're lucky. We have a minimum snow, right? Yes, we can go out of fund balance to get that, lower our fund balance. Snow plowing material, as Selectman Danka mentioned, cutting it an additional $25,000 is really not gonna help us because we have that contract, we have to buy it off. Culture and arts purchase services from 25,000 to 20,000. Parks, education, seminars, and training. It was budgeted for 500, knocked that down $100 to 400. Repairs and maintenance went down $16,000. I guess we don't have to repair or maintain our parks in this makes sense there. As we're cutting, as we're making these cuts, it's going to be affecting our town as well, whether it's from the streets to our parks. General supplies, down to 21.3. The library was cut, books and periodicals, $5,000. You guys cut our capital project from 100,000 to 25,000. Town building repair fund was at 75,000, that was cut to 50,000. Fleet replenished to 0, cut that 25,000. That's all the cuts I have.
Thank you. Okay, anybody wish to speak? Okay, name and address, please.
Lori Scott, 7th Drive. He wanted you to take into account the state announcement last week for 2024 that Seymour will save $400,000 annual pension costs. So that reduction is effective in January for the second half of our budget. We should save about $200,000. Reduce the utilities taken into account the Johnson Controls project and solar panels that were installed, which should both save on utility costs in both budgets, rather than the significant increase in utility cost budget.
Thank you. Okay. Anybody else wish to speak? Sure. Update us on MERS, please.
So we all heard how MERS was going to be saving the town $444,000. And over 30 years, it was going to save us over $11 million. That's projected for next year, or maybe the year after that. This hasn't even gone to the House to vote on. It hasn't even been brought to the floor yet. So as much as I would love to count the $444,000 from MERS, it hasn't been voted on yet and hasn't been approved yet. And from what I hear, there's a lot of people against it up there as well. So I just wanted to bring that up.
Thank you. Yes. Name and address for the record, or title.
My name is Salvatore Bucci. I'm the business manager for education. I'm not a resident, but I'm the business manager, and I lived with this budget from the first number that went in until the last number that was finally cast after my board approves it for presentation to this board. There are just a couple of things I wanted to point out as it relates to the board's budget. You know, when we first came out with this, we all expected we were going to have this massive increase in employee benefits, and as it turns out, we got lucky. The town got lucky, the Board of Education got lucky, because in the course of attempting to switch to a different provider, we wound up coming in flat, and we wound up having no increase. And many of you will remember last year we had about an 8% increase across the board. So we dodged the bullet with employee health benefits. When you look at some of the non-educational things we're dealing with the same issues the town is dealing with. We're dealing with increases in utility costs, and to the point that was rather made here about the solar bond project, we began to appreciate savings last year in our electricity as a result of that, and now we're in our second year. So we've stabilized and in fact done an entire study on what our usage is in our buildings. The projection that we have for next year, we had already cut in the second round. So the first round, we cut out all the projected employee benefit increases. In the second round, we cut the $516,000 Dr. Compton referred to earlier. In that, we cut $50,000 out of our electricity budget. How we do that, I don't really know yet. But what we did was a good faith effort to make that cut. We look at the cost of running our buses. Last year, we cut 2 buses out of the runs. We've been dealing with a lot of complaints from residents about the fact we don't have as many bus stops, and they don't stop in front of houses anymore. It's a reality of modern times. We can't afford it. And it's actually really created itself by the fact there aren't enough drivers. And that was really the catalyst for the cuts in the buses. We look at the contractual obligations that we have. We went through 4 rounds of collective bargaining this year with custodians, nurses, paras, secretaries. We even settled next year's administrator contract, and every one of those contracts we held to a 2.25% over a 3-year period, which was a remarkable achievement, given that everyone came and obviously asked for a lot more. When you go across the board and you look at what we did in that round of cut to $500,000, we cut $175,000 out of certified salaries, out of certified staff salaries. I alluded earlier to a cut in the fine arts program. We cut $149,000 out of our building facility maintenance to Madam, for a select woman's comment. Yes, we're all in the same buildings. We're in town-owned buildings, and we have a budget here of some $730,000, which used to be at $879,000. How we're going to respond to all of the things that our buildings are going to need is really beyond anything I can answer to now. We're hoping to work together with the town and figure out a way to do that. Okay? And when you finally look at some of the educational, we cut $63,000 out of educational supplies, and then we cut another miscellaneous $20,000 out of sending our administrative staff to learning seminars and participating in professional development and doing things more remotely, things we thought we were going to be able to get away from so that people could expand their reach. I'm here to tell you, I've been doing this 46 years. While this may not be my town, and these are not my taxes, and these are not my children, I treat it the same way. And what we've got here, the budget increase, stop focusing so much on the percentage. We have a $1.4 million increase over last year. $500,000 of that is really to cover contractual obligations. And when you look at some of the remaining items that we have on this list here, transportation, and I'll be remiss if I fail to mention this, transportation and tuition. As I mentioned, when I appeared before the Board of Finance on the 28th of April, I believe Mr. Sawicki asked me about special education. I said to him, we're approaching 30 students. We have not seen anything coming down from the state that indicates the level of support to towns like Seymour and other cities across the state, or towns across the state, is going to increase. We're looking at almost a $400,000 increase, of which possibly we might see 5-10% based on some of the reasons I gave earlier. Some of these things are beyond our control. I don't know how the minimum works. I would defer to other people who have a better idea of that, but I can tell you that from this budget, the only thing I would recommend to my superintendent and my board, if we were to have a cut of some $434,000, is I don't know where else to find it other than cutting educational programs.
Okay, thank you. And because we let Anne Marie speak a little longer and the business manager speak a little longer, I'd like to ask Dr. Compton if she has anything further she'd like to add, since she was on the 2.5 minute.
I just again want to emphasize our children are our most precious assets. Children, teachers make a difference in children's lives. They don't remember their principal or superintendent, but they never forget a great teacher. And great teachers determine the future of our children. And our kids love their teachers like that.
Thank you. All right, anybody else from the public wish to speak? Yes.
Very, very quickly. No, you don't start time, I promise. Kristen Honnoy, 134 Davis Road. It is true that our budget is $10 million more than the town's budget. It is also true that we get almost
$10 million more from the state to fund our schools. So in this tension that we have between 2/3 of the budget, or 60% of the budget, 40% of the budget, I think it's so important that people realize local tax dollars are basically split. Because again, we get $10 million more from the state to fund our school system than the town does, and our budget is $10 million more. So I think we should maybe stop thinking about the Board of Ed being so much more than the town, because we do have revenue that the town has right on its revenue line. So people's tax dollars are split 50-50, not 60-40.
Okay, thank you. Anybody else? Yes.
Kristen Bruno, Tama County Court, member of the Board of Education. You've heard from me multiple times. I just want to point out a couple things as you feel great. There were disruptions in the voting, not saying that would have changed the outcome, but the hours were peak hours when people get out of work, when kids get out of school. I know people who came to vote and weren't able to and turned around. So don't put too much weight into the percentages when you're thinking about what the town is telling you. Again, the outcome was the outcome, but the percentage might have been different had we not had the disruption due to the fires. People have talked about the cuts that have already been made. We've also, in negotiating the contracts, that's a confidential process, but really as a board, we're really thinking long-term about how to be efficient, how to use our staff the best way that we can. We've saved costs at central office, both in looking at the positions there and looking at the location. We've been able to plan for long-term controlling costs, but there is a minimum that we have to provide for our students to keep the town moving forward and to keep providing the level of opportunity for our students. And a deep cut would take us back off track. So think about all of those things.
Thank you. Next.
Stefan Buniak, 36 Berkshire Road. Throughout this process, and I'm going to address the board, but I think I'm not telling the board anything they don't know. Throughout this process, we have to keep something in mind. Look around the world, look around everything you pay for in the world, look around the value of things that you cherish. I can guarantee you, that I am a homeowner in this town, that your home values are up significantly in the last 2 years. I can guarantee you that you're paying a lot more money for electrical, you're paying more money for gas, you're paying more money for all sorts of things. We need to understand that a big portion of what we pay for on a town or Board of Education budget are the same things you're paying for at home. And I can guarantee you that your home value and your bills are up more than 2 to 3%, which is what the town is increasing. So what people, I think, are missing here is that the town is actually being as responsible as they possibly can be given the state of the world. The people on this board are doing the best that they can. Everyone on this board lives in this town. Most of the people on this board own homes in this town. They don't want their taxes to go up any more than they have to. Same with everybody else in here. I know there's a lot of people who are just finding their way to town hall for maybe the first or second time through the process. We welcome you. This is a long process. It's something to start paying attention to much earlier if you're this concerned. We started the process in February.
January.
So there's a lot of time between January and May. And everything is in the public on both Board of Education and the town side, many layers to it. People would do well to show up a little earlier, talk a little more openly early on, and try to understand what actually goes into these budgets. Because I can tell you from the Board of Education side, our budget is up, but we are adding nothing. We are paying our salaries, we are paying our fuel costs, we are paying to get our special education kids the treatment that they need and the education they deserve. And it's as simple as that. We're doing it in the most bare bones way that we can, and we have been for decades, because this town was in a place of voting budgets down. And at that time, you may remember the early 2000s, some people will remember, we weren't improving our roads. Our town didn't have the sort of public works presence we do now. And what people want in town is good education, beautiful town, livable. We start cutting the budget anymore, we're going to get rid of those things, your home values will go down. As simple as that, you will have less wealth. People need to think bigger picture. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other public comment?
Sorry,
Any other public comment? going 2 times. Any other public comment going 3 times? Public comment is closed. Okay, thank you all for coming out to talk. Okay, item number 4 on the agenda, approval of the minutes of the special meeting from May 4th, 2023. I'll entertain a motion.
I'll make a motion.
Motion by Bev, second by Betty Ann. Is there any discussion on the motion? Hearing none, all those in favor?
There was an error in there, which I pointed out to Doug, where how much was attributed to the meeting
Oh.
during that town meeting that actually came from, I think, Brian's boss.
Right, but that was the town
That's not
meeting.
this, that's not this, what we're voting on now.
Okay.
Any discussion on the motion? Hearing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Chair votes aye, motion carries. All right, item number 5, discussion of the 2023-2024 budget. Okay, let's go to the beginning here. We could flip to page 10 of 26. Okay, so Anne Marie brought up line 430-101. Is that correct? In regards to moving that to 85,327. Did you get that?
Yeah, so she's cutting her salary back.
So Doug, this is what you're putting in.
Okay, yeah, Doug, if you, yeah, please go through the lines as we discuss these. How does everybody feel about that up here?
Well, I don't think we should. I would rather cut the position where we're adding another person,
Okay.
line up for this project coordinator. I don't think we need to be adding any more people in-house.
Okay. That, I believe, again, falls under the purview of the Board of Selectmen with personnel.
We don't fund it.
Anne Marie, yes.
So that is actually a human position of administrative.
Okay, thank you for the clarification. All right, so let's focus right now on line item 101, which is Anne Marie's salary. I do not believe that we should entertain that
I don't either,
because I think she works extremely hard and she is here until all hours of the night, multiple days a week.
well, and I look at it more as a buffer, because when this goes to town, if they shoot it down again, we still have to have some leverage on another meeting like this.
No, well, I mean, that's something that we could discuss at that time. Is everybody okay with that for now?
I'd like to keep it the same.
Okay, so we'll keep that the same. Okay. General supplies, it said here, is that what that was? 580?
Yeah.
It's 580, we're taking out 1,800?
That's what she had said.
Okay.
Making it zero.
Okay. Is everybody all right with
I
that?
thought it was the travel.
Yeah, travel.
Travel. Anne Marie, could you
Travel.
clarify
Which
that?
one is
Was it travel or supplies here?
Oh, it's travel.
580.
580.
Okay, so 580.
No, 580 is not travel. Oh, yeah. Okay.
Yeah, hold on.
580 is travel. 1,800.
My allergies are killing me with my eyes, sorry. All right, so 580 travel, so that's 1,800. Okay.
All right.
Is everybody all right with that?
Yep.
I mean, if it's something that is not needed,
Well, the only thing I question is that as of March 15th, he spent $1,371. Are we having no travel next year?
okay.
Okay.
All right. All right, so now moving forward,
Wait, I want to bring up the next department, the Economic Development Department.
okay,
Page
page
number
10 of 26.
Line 433-101. We're giving the economic director, who's part-time, a 22% increase. I think that's a little bit high.
Is that position contractual?
The
Economic Development Director position.
Economic development position.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, we only got it right now. But we have more than-
Okay.
Yeah, but is
In
it a
her,
contract though?
she's contractual. Okay, so the answer is yes.
So we have a contract saying we'll give her a 22% increase? It is. Right?
Yeah, it's a 5,000, yeah.
No,
It was
it's 10,000.
45 in this budget.
Right, we're going up to 55.
And it goes up to 55.
It's a $10,000.
Go ahead.
Well, she was at 50 last year? All right, that I don't understand. So, she was at, I show 45 last year. Now she's, but is it a contract or?
Okay, I do not recommend that.
Okay.
I mean, how does everybody else feel about
I
that?
don't remember approving this
I don't see it.
contract.
I only see 45. I don't see
Yeah.
the page 10 of 26. I don't see it listed as 50. I think it listed as 45.
Yeah, the actual year-to-date is still 45. That transfer has not happened yet, though, correct?
Budgeted 45.
That was the contract, and that was already approved, so we can't touch that.
Okay.
They have to do a transfer
Yep.
coming up to.
Okay. Thank you
Okay.
for that clarification.
Thank you.
Okay.
Okay, now, moving on to the next highlighted item is on page 14, under Town Operations, Repairs and Maintenance, 510-430. We talked about going from 90,000 down to 75,000, which is a decrease of 15,000. I think that we discussed,
I think we all
yeah, we
discussed
think
this
we
and
should
we-
be all right with that.
Yeah.
Everybody's okay with that still? Okay,
On 15 of 26,
So
the
ne-
town contributions
town contributions.
brought up.
All right, oh yeah.
So,
There wasn't, there was, I don't have a highlighted.
Okay, so that would be 610 on page 15, town contributions. Yes.
Which one?
That would be the whole box, I think. When it comes down to town contributions, we're coming in at 14,009, and there are a lot of organizations that do rely on this, organizations for good, such as contributions to the Rape Crisis Center, the Domestic Violence Services, that also has Little League in there, Pop Warner.
that's on the bottom.
That's on 630.
Right.
So I mean, this is something that I think we should really leave in there.
Can we cut the events committee by 5,000?
Mm,
Because they have money for the Memorial Day parade this year. So the only parade they're really gonna have to,
Okay, where are you at with the events committee here? What line are you on?
right here. It's line 885.
Okay, and that's
638.85,
25,000.
yeah,
And he initially asked for 105.
right, I know.
So 25,000. I mean,
Yeah.
that's going
We
to
gave them-
decimate that department.
Well, we gave them 20 last year, they used 12.9 as of so far this year, and they have the money for the parade for the Memorial Day, because that was a separate fund. So I think we could put it to 20, that's up to everybody else.
Me personally, I'm not really in favor of that, but
All right, anybody else? I don't know.
Anybody else?
I wanted to see if we take a look and see if we can keep it the same at the anniversary.
yeah.
Just thought as we're putting them in, we're seeing where we're gonna go.
Do you have anything, Jim, or
Yeah,
How
anything
about
on
you?
that? Lucy?
Lucy? You want to
Okay.
leave it at 25?
Yeah, I think
Okay.
that's important. And then also something that we can look again later on down the line. Item, let's see, page 16, we got to the police department. We discussed this a little bit the other day at our meeting after the referendum. So we went from 175,000 down to 150 with a $25,000 decrease.
Right. Anne Marie's saying to decrease it another 25, is that correct?
Another 25?
Another 25?
Yeah.
All right, I mean,
Got that, you're typing in, right?
What does,
Want it down to 125?
Yes.
that's what she's saying. I don't know.
That's the recommendation. Let's see what that comes out to.
yeah.
as you're taking these in, look over.
Okay, next thing was, I think Anne Marie had a suggestion over on machinery and equipment cars under the police department for 535, 475 line item on page 16. Machinery and equipment cars under the police department. It was recommended that we remove the car.
Haven't we just approved one car?
No, this is for one car for next year, right?
Mhm.
Is that correct?
But we had already,
We're buying one this year, correct?
No,
that's the second
No.
one.
This is the second one?
And I say,
I initially put in for two, one was cut already,
Right.
the second one.
That would be the second one
yeah,
for next year.
I definitely not.
yeah, I think maintaining the fleet is important.
Mm-hmm.
And that also revolves around the safety of our officers as well.
Right, I don't think we should cut that.
You don't cut it.
Okay, so let's leave that as is. Okay. So the next highlighted items here. Okay, so highway wages and maintenance, page 19. Okay, so we discussed the overtime snow plowing, going from 80,000 to 40,000, which was a $40,000 decrease.
Right.
I think we should leave that, but with snow plowing materials.
I'd like to see the contract. Can we see the
Sure.
contract?
Trish, do you have a copy of the contract, please, because that will go under snow plowing materials. So let's,
I just want to see,
okay. I don't know if I can be able to read it
The
today.
minimum is the tonnage. The minimum I calculated of 40% is going to be 1,000 tons. Here's the current price from last year. So we are estimating $100 with inflation of everything else,
Right.
which I thought was reasonable.
all
And so
right,
that brings it up to the $100,000 times the 100,
okay. And
the
this is-
1,000 tonnage times the $100.
Okay.
Okay?
3,000 more.
We're looking at the 80.
All right, so now overtime snow plowing is different. We're talking right now about snow plowing materials on 422.
So we can't go with, we were okay with the.
But it says it's only good till December 31st, 2022.
Yeah, and this is not taking into consideration the increase in the price of the materials as well. I think that we should probably put that 25,000 back in and go to the
No, I
105,000.
would put 100.
You want to go with 100?
Yeah,
All right.
100. Is that correct, Trish?
Okay, so,
Paid anyway.
right.
So it would be misleading to take out.
Okay, so Doug, 100,000 for that number, so it's just a decrease of 5,000 then.
No, it's an increase of 20.
Well, oh, if we're going on the
Yeah.
other column,
Right,
yes.
yeah.
Okay, so we'll go back up to
So
100,000.
we're keeping the snow plowing where it is.
Yes,
Yes.
with a decrease of 40. Yep. You're putting all this in, right, Doug? Okay, thank you. Thanks, Drew.
Thanks for the research on that.
Okay, now we move over to page 21. That would be parks. Under repairs and maintenance, 430. Bill Sawicki, the chairman of the Parks Board, recommended cutting 16,000 from line 430, and again another 15,000 from line 635, 610. He's on that committee. He knows what he needs. He made the suggestion. I think we're good with that, right?
Right.
Doug, that's what you have.
And Anne Marie also cut
Yeah, the
line 3,
it was
635,
education
350.
seminars
right, to
to
400.
400.
Okay.
You guys want to pick up $100 on that?
Yeah, we'll put it in.
Yeah. That is like education seminars training, top underneath parks.
Okay, so that will go from 500 to 400.
Mhm.
Everybody
Got that?
good with that?
Mhm.
Okay. Moving through.
Keeping general supplies.
I don't think anything. No, yeah, general supply, same thing. 15,000. That was a Bill's suggestion from him being there. Well, it's 15,000 decrease, so it's going from 36.3 to 21.3.
21 is okay.
Yes. Correct. Everybody's good with that?
Yep.
Okay, moving on. Page
Yeah, we, in Maria, said, go back to cultural.
culture and arts. Where did we do that? Oh, okay. Okay, so Anne Marie recommended, what did you jot down for that? Because it looks like 5,600 was reduced. What? 20, right. So we're taking from 625,500 and we're bringing that down to 2,000.
No, to 20,000, right? To 20,000.
Yes, to 20,000. It's 25,000 now, so your recommendation was 20,000, Anne Marie?
Yes.
Okay.
Savings of 5,000.
Right. Okay. Is everybody okay with that?
Mm-hmm.
Doug?
Nope.
Okay, thank you. Okay, now, moving to page 22. Back up at the library on 640. I have no problem stating that I adamantly wanted to put that $5,000 for periodicals in there. However, in the times that we are in, we discussed the other day taking that out. So, everybody's okay with that still?
Yep.
Yep.
Okay, so Doug, that's there already.
We're changing every country and every town and every organization.
Right, okay, so now we get to page 23. And there are a few things here that Doug is going to need to clarify on this, okay? This is under Social Security, okay? Doug, could you tell us the adjustments that were made on line 535220 and line 570220? Basically give us the rundown of why that number was different. So that would be under Social Security, it's 535220. And then again on 570220, there was an adjustment from, let's see, on 220 from 63,622 to 63,260, which was a decrease in $362, and then the same with $3,060 down below it.
Yeah, anytime you cut overtime or somebody's salary, the number goes down.
Okay,
You cut quite a bit over.
so that ties into the overtime number? Okay,
Just, and
Same,
that just
same
pop-
thing goes for retirement.
okay, and that's,
Number will also go down.
okay, so that's going to be my next question as well, is over on page 24 under the retirement. So that is because of our overtime cuts. Okay, so those are just adjustments that are made. And actually significant, yes,
So question regarding that specifically, that just populates automatically.
Yeah.
Right.
Like our numbers.
okay.
And that's good for the people of the town. Good.
Okay, so by cutting the police overtime, it saved us $362. And by cutting highway maintenance, it saved us $3,060. And then over on the next page, it's the same thing with the police retirement. It's picked us up $7,480 in adjustments. Doug, is that correct?
Yeah, because I don't see where we cut anything in the town. Where did we cut overtime? No, the police, we cut the overtime.
Right,
Where
and
did
same
we
thing
cut
with
it?
highway maintenance.
So it's the formula populates a change, but it's different from this list.
Where's the highway maintenance?
So that would be,
I didn't think we cut anything on highway
that's
maintenance.
my,
19, the overtime snow plowing.
Oh, the snow plowing, okay.
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
So that's
okay,
about
where did my agenda go? Because I was jotting notes on that. Did you by any chance get that?
Oh, here.
Ah, thank you. Okay. Okay, so yeah, that was a savings of $7,480 up on the police retirement, 562.30, and then another 7,828 over on 572.30 on highways. Pretty good. Okay, so now we move down to line 530, 861 on the same page, on page 24, which is the next highlighted item. That's capital projects. From 100,000 to 75,000, which is a $25,000 decrease. We discussed that the other day. Everybody's all right with that?
Yeah.
Still? Yeah. Okay, on page 25, let's see, town buildings repair fund, that would be line 53863. Again, 75 to 50,000, that's a $25,000 decrease.
I don't know how we do it.
again?
I don't know how to do it. Is that one you came up with?
Yeah, that was one from the other night that we discussed.
And Anne Marie's
And then,
recommendation on that?
Emery, what was your recommendation on that?
Remind us of the recommendation on
I don't believe you had a number there
town
for that.
buildings and repair fund.
No.
I said to all of you, please remember our buildings are older, and it's costing more and more to repair as we bring them.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. All right, you know what, let's revisit that, if you guys don't mind. Is everybody okay with that?
I'd like to revisit it.
Let's revisit it after we get some updated numbers. Doug, could you put that back to $75,000? Just for now. We might change it back, but I think in order to have an accurate as to what we're looking at without it, it's important. Same thing down on line 530-868, our fleet replenish.
What is the fleet replenish referring to?
I believe that would be vehicles that need to be replaced. So,
Fire trucks,
Town-
police
for
cars?
no,
town-
not fire trucks and
I
things
mean-
like that, no. That's town vehicles.
Town
Um,
vehicles?
I'm okay with the 25,000
Put it back in?
that we
Oh,
discussed
took it out.
taking out.
Okay.
Has nothing to do with the fire truck,
Right, these are not service vehicles.
public works, and,
Okay,
Okay,
we're okay with that
Do
though.
we
Good.
have a list of those town vehicles and who has them?
Yeah, doesn't have to be now, but,
Oh,
so we're back with the 65K on
okay,
line of 530863.
75,000, we're back at that for now.
And then if we get to the last page,
Okay, and then we go to the last page, we did talk about, actually, no, okay. That was on this page, we talked about the OPEB trust. We did not take that out, actually, we left that in because that's a
Right.
bond rating thing. Because it's not something that we decided to do. Okay. Okay, so we get to the end here. Doug, what do we have right now for a town bottom line as to what we just did?
64,509,431.
one more time.
Yeah.
64,509,431.
that's the whole budget.
That's the whole budget. I just want the town.
That's the whole budget. Okay.
Yeah, I just want the,
Town.
The town is 26283,896.
26283,
So it went up by 5,000.
Wait, back up.
26283,
We just cut.
896.
And it went up.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, but you added stuff
Well,
back.
yeah, we put a few things back in and then, all right, so with that then, let's revisit the town buildings repair fund. Okay. So, it's at 75, we knock it down another 25,000 to 50. Is everybody all right to see at least what that does here?
Yep.
Okay, Doug, could you do that? All right, and now what do you have for a number on just the town?
26258,896.
Yeah, no, here's where the referendum was. Okay. Yep. Yeah, So that, okay, and Bev, what do you have there for a difference?
The town is cut from what we had, 254,473.
473.
Right.
So Doug, read that number one more time, 26.
258,896.
Yeah, 254, 473.
So you're recording all of this for when we go to make motions, correct? With exact, so it's 26258,896.
Is, yeah.
Okay. All right.
All right, now,
That's a pretty significant decrease. How does everybody feel about that? Okay. Yeah, well, I think we did that separately. So we'll because this is our separate budgets, we'll address the Board of Ed separately, correct? No. Okay. So then at that point, I will entertain a motion on the town budget.
I move to reduce the town budget to $26,258,896. So a reduction of $254,473.
Do we got a second?
Betty Ann makes the second.
Okay. Second by Betty Ann. Is there any discussion on the motion? Hearing none. Motion carries. Okay. I think we did pretty good there. Okay, so now we have to address the Board of Education bottom line. Okay, so just so everybody is aware, we do not decrease line items for the Board of Ed. We just address this as a bottom line. It's up to the Board of Ed to figure out what they need to do to make everything work with the number that we come up with. So the number that we kicked around the other day off of the bottom line was 434,000. And we've heard a few different numbers. We've heard something along the lines of 634. We heard 500 the other night. So we decided to see what this 434,000 decrease would do. Is everybody okay with that still?
See what Doug has for number.
Yeah, so Doug, could you now calculate a decrease in the Board of Ed at 434,000 now with what we just did with the town?
That's the numbers that were last year.
Right.
38235.
535.
Well, no, because we just, no, I know that for that. I'm talking about the grand total now.
Oh, the grand total.
Yep.
We get a mill rate.
You want the number or the mill rate?
The number first, please, and then the mill rate.
Okay, the total budget, 64484.
Okay.
Mill rate.
And the mill rate would be? Okay, and that is a decrease of about a half a mil, correct? Okay. All right. My suggestion is we go with that and we don't do any more.
I no more.
Yeah,
No,
that,
no more.
right.
And this is, again, I'm speaking to the chair for this. There's always a chance that this is gonna go back to the voters and get shot down again. If that happens, let me go back to last year's budget. plus the contractual obligation.
No, there's still one more cycle.
One more cycle.
Yep, there's still one more cycle.
One more cycle. When you add up the referendums, and you add up the numbers and the totals and the, it's crazy.
Okay.
I mean, I don't wanna see any more cuts.
So Doug, the total amount that we cut from tonight's budget equals what? Busting out the math, you know? Or Bevy, you probably
I ran out of fingers
get
and
it
toes.
quickly over here.
We cut another 19,743 on the town side.
Okay, so that was after what we did. Okay, so that was with the adjustment. Okay, so that's good.
Set a total cut of $688,453.
On the total.
Okay, so that's the total cut, 688, 473,000. I like to think that we did our due diligence up here today. It's a pretty decent chunk of change. With that said, I'll entertain a motion in regards to the Board of Ed. Which was,
I
yes.
I had a resident asking, it's hard to hear, can you review why we cut from both budgets done in just one?
Oh, because both budgets failed at the referendum. And the Board of Finance has a duty to reduce each side of the budget, the town side and the Board of Ed side. Yes. Okay, make a motion on the Board of Ed number.
I motion to reduce the Board of Ed budget to $38,225,535, which is a decrease of $434,000.
Okay, motion by Kristen. Can we get a second, anybody? Second by Lucy? Okay. Is there any discussion on the motion? Hearing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Anybody opposed?
I oppose.
You opposed? Okay, please note, Bev opposed. Temporary chair votes aye. Motion carries. Okay. Yes.
I'm sorry, they understand they want to know if we got town votes, can you keep with the town reduction was before that?
Okay. Doug, the town reduction was, yeah, no, this is important.
254,473.
Okay, 254,473. So that's $254,473. And the Board of Ed reduction was $434,000. Okay. All right.
Is that working on the big pairs?
Okay. So we've gotten to that moment now. Item number 7 on the agenda. I will entertain a motion to adjourn
Motion to adjourn.
by Betty Ann.
I'll second.
Second by Kristen. Any discussion on that?
No.
Hearing none. All those in favor?
Aye.
Anybody oppose that? Anybody wish to abstain? Temporary chair votes aye. Motion carries. We'll see you all at the referendum on May 18th.
I don't think we took a vote on the town side for the whole